After the museum, we walked over to our next stop, a traditional tea house. I'm not sure it's the safest move for me to film and cross the street at the same time, but glad to report I made it safely. We got there right at opening time, and it turns out the business was still closed. So we awkwardly waited around in their front garden until they finished prepping and could open up. We started off with the Purple Bud Camellia Black Tea.
How's the tea?
Oh, so much flavor.
Using Taiwan's native camellia flower, it had a woody scent and a light floral and caramel aroma to it. I don't usually gravitate towards floral-based teas, but this one had a richer and deeper flavor than I initially expected. My aunt was so kind to help film in this tea house, and she even got to art direct a few shots. Now, let's show you around the space. The location is in a converted old house. Upon entering, the space was cozy and calm with a mellow aroma of cedar wood. Exquisite floral arrangements decorated the space, complementing the atmosphere. Besides tea service and desserts, they also sell tea sets, and other accessories for you to recreate the experience at home. The first tea came out brewed and ready for serving, and they also provided info cards on timing for subsequent brews. I really loved how you got to experience the process of brewing. When you're more involved in the process, you learn more about the tea itself and the various factors that affect its taste. I live a pretty busy life with few opportunities to relax, so I really value moments like these. Spending time with family, trying out a new experience together, and being in no rush for the next task. Each tea can be brewed up to 9 or 10 times before the leaves aren't able to produce much flavor anymore. And as the leaves are brewed more and more, the steeping duration gets a bit longer each time. Having tried this method often for loose leaf teas I drink at home, I was pleasantly surprised how this camellia tea retained so much flavor even after 7 or 8 brews. You can see how even by our 5th or 6th brew here, the tea retains a rich caramel color, not that different from the first serving. With our first tea, they also served us fresh scones prepared in-house. I love scones, but I was a bit surprised by this pairing choice for a Taiwanese tea. Scones are typically eaten alongside English teas. English teas are usually a mix of black teas with strong and bold flavors that pair well with the sweeter and richer sides, such as scones. And as I'm editing this footage, I'm realizing I didn't film any part of the second tea we were served. We ordered an Oriental Beauty tea, which is an oolong tea harvested only in the summer. It uses only tea buds which have been bitten by bugs. Before you get too disgusted, this is also the key to the tea's naturally and uniquely sweet flavor. When the leaves are bitten, it releases its own sugars to help recovery in those areas. Here we are pouring the tea into aroma teacups. The tall and slim shape of these cups captures and concentrates the tea fragrance. Instead of drinking from these cups, you pour out the tea from them first and then inhale the fragrance left behind. And finally, with our second tea, we were served a slice of crepe cake. Again, perfectly sweet to pair with these teas, and I loved how this particular version was a bit cream heavy in proportion. After drinking tea and nibbling on desserts for 2 hours, we were craving a real salty meal. So we ended up at the comics museum nearby and stopped by a ramen place on site. I'll be honest, I have never read a comic book in my life. Despite being a voracious reader, comics were just something that never interested me. So I'm being a bit lazy and admiring the comics art from outside. The architecture on these grounds is quite similar to that of the literature museum from earlier. Also built in the 1930s during the Japanese colonial era, this was a former prison. This was also where police officers were trained in judo and kendo. Today, it houses a few cultural institutions nestled among bamboo, cherry blossom, and banyan trees, along with a dessert cafe, restaurants, exhibits, and even classes. Collectively, this area is known as the Natural Way Six Arts Cultural Center. Once again, I am completely awestruck by these banyan trees. There are quite a few really well-preserved and maintained Japanese-era buildings on site. Similar to the Literature Museum, it really feels like you're being transported to another time and place walking around here. As I walked through this peaceful setting, it felt like I was stepping into a different world, one that perfectly blends the beauty of nature with history. The lush greenery surrounding the buildings was such a calming contrast to the busy streets just outside, creating this quiet space where you could just breathe and take everything in. Exploring here was like a meditative experience, a chance to pause, recharge, and reconnect with the sense of peace that's so rare in the hustle of everyday life. You know, no trip to Taiwan is complete without a visit to the night market. This was my only chance to check out a night market, so I'm gonna show you the places you can't miss out on. Being one of the most densely populated countries in the world, this is what it looks like on a random Thursday night. Our first stop is also one of the most popular ones. We're getting in line for fried chicken. Taiwanese night market style fried chicken consists of a cutlet with bone intact that's marinated and then fried. Besides the original flavor, they also sell other options such as salt and pepper and spicy. As you can see, these cutlets are huge, and please note this place does not offer to cut up the cutlets. There is always a line of both locals and tourists at this place, but it does go fairly quickly. Each cutlet is priced from around 100 NT. That's about $3 USD or €2.78, so that is quite a bargain. We ended up ordering 2 of the original flavor. It's always fun eating something larger than my head. Our next stop was actually something I had never heard of before, Taiwanese style Oden. How it works is that the stall has a variety of already cooked vegetables and meats such as cucumbers, cabbage, bean curd, and fish balls. You pick up a red basket and grab whichever foods you would like. The cook then simmers your entire food selection in a broth, similar to the method of Japanese-style Oden. After that, she'll bring out the food, add a few more seasonings and sauce such as white pepper, garlic, and a sweet sauce. The price is calculated by weight, and despite having to simmer the foods once more, the whole process is relatively quick. After that, you've got to try one of the most polarizing dishes in Taiwanese cuisine. If smell-o-vision existed, you'll already know what I'm talking about. Brace yourselves for Stinky Tofu. Once again, we are lining up, so this place must be good. And I really hope so, because Stinky Tofu is not something I want to take my chances on. Stinky tofu is a dish originating in China that is basically fermented tofu that is then deep fried. The fermentation process consists of soaking tofu in a brine made of various herbs, vegetables, meat, and even milk or shrimp depending on the recipe. This spot also has a small seating area, so I'm putting my public vlogging fears to the test. If you're still scared or put off by the pungent smell of stinky tofu, you can also dress it up in various sauces. The classic offerings are garlic sauce and crushed chilies or chili paste. While we wait for our order to be ready, let's taste test the Taiwanese Oden. First, I picked up a piece of braised bean curd. And this might be the first and only piece of vegetable I eat this whole night. And then we've got some fish cake with pickled mustard greens. You know that feeling when you're either so hungry or the food is so good that you're ready for the next bite before you've even finished chewing?
Yeah. The tofu was really good. A lot of flavor.
If that's not already obvious, this was probably my favorite dish of tonight. Okay, it's tofu time. The tofu pieces come doused in a soy sauce, oyster sauce, garlic, and sugar combination. They're served alongside fresh cucumbers and pickled cabbage. I love sauces, so let's add some garlic and chili paste. It's like I'm balancing out the pungent aroma with an equally pungent sauce. But also, rest assured, the actual taste is pretty mild. The tofu tastes nothing like how it smells. As always, the camera eats first.
Like eat first.
I almost never eat stinky tofu back home, so this is something I only get in Taiwan, and this feels like a special treat. Grab bites of the veggies in between to help cleanse the palate and to get a bit of freshness in between the fried heaviness. This cross-section shows how firm the outer layer is, yet how spongy and soft the insides are. Moving on to dessert. I am going to try these custard-filled cakes. A warm dessert is a perfect way to end a winter night market run. I got the one filled with the original custard flavor, but the other options include cheese, red bean, and even Oreo. For a bun this big, where's the filling?
Are you gonna take a bigger bite?
Okay, this definitely needs at least twice the amount of filling. This was not too sweet, and outer bun was soft and pillowy, but I felt cheated on the filling. No surprise, but this was my least favorite from tonight. I love experiencing and sharing snippets of Taiwanese food culture with you. If you enjoyed it as well, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.